And we're live. Evening all.
Evening. Good
Hello?
evening. I hope that was royalty-free music.
It is. I got it from YouTube.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking of that scene from American Werewolf in London where there's like Nazi zombie werewolf and they got Uzis and they're killing all the family.
Is that what YouTube do? They send people round to do that.
Well, that's what the caption it used to be back in the day when people were into BitTorrents and peer-to-peer. What happens when you download a song without paying for it?
So, top film, American Werewolf in London. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, there's the YouTube link I've put in chat. I'm just going to share it around. You lads have a bit of a natter.
Oh, okay. I'm going to click on that link instead of having a chat so I can see what the chat's saying.
Yeah, I got to click on the link now.
Raise lower your hand, open close chat. There we go. There it is. There's a Bluetooth. No, that's not a Bluetooth link. That's a thing. That's a link to the YouTube.
We don't see the YouTube chat in the Jitsu, do we? No.
No.
Is that just
That's
first? All right.
That's why I put it in a separate window. I decided to prepare for this episode by watching some Steve MRE rations and Kay's Good Cooking.
Kay's Good Cooking. Always a good prep.
Well,
Didn't they cost as much as proper food, those rations, didn't they?
I imagine they're probably. Oh no! Okay, sorry. It was the YouTube that was confusing. I thought, why is he saying the things twice? It's probably more expensive because all the preparation that goes into it. But I was watching one from 1970s Coast Guard ration, and it just looked foul. And it tasted fine. You still ate it.
I've just been for a nice walk. I think I do love autumn. I think like autumn's the most British of the seasons. That's kind of something about autumn.
Did you know the Yanks call it fall? Apparently, we used to call it fall. It was just like something that they picked up.
Well, they're
The
like
Yanks.
us, but about 200 years in the past, aren't they?
Well, they're a young country. They're still they're in their adolescent years, aren't they?
I mean, I could just imagine 200 years from now, they'll probably have their own version of Kay's Good Cooking and Sargon.
Anglo Celtica said, "What the fuck are you all on about?" Lol. This is what we call.
Kay's Good Cooking.
This is what we call. This is what we call a warm open, not a cold open. When we go, well, here's what we're talking about. We do a nice warm open where we have a bit of a chat. Evening, boys. Are we all right? How are we? You know, all that kind of stuff.
I've got a sort of serious thing to. Well, not serious. Well, yeah, serious, I suppose. Last episode, I mentioned that pro-pederast occult fanzine, Ganymede. And I've got to state on the record that I didn't actually buy a copy or read it. I just I saw it advertised and reviewed. So, for the record,
I think in trying to dig yourself out, it sounds like you're digging yourself deeper.
Yeah.
Where did you see it advertised?
Well, no, the fanzines like. So I've got to state for the record that I have never had a Greco-Roman period like Richard Spencer. So got that out of the way.
I wanted to say that what you describe as a warm welcome is like a standard Hobbit thing of this is what I've been up to today. I saw these things and I'm going to talk about them now.
This is just standard Hobbit programming.
So the week in weirdness. What's been going on then?
Yeah, we can have a bit of week in weirdness. So I found on the Fortean Times Twitter, there's some Indian geezer that had a 4-inch horn on his forehead.
Was he feeling horny?
Not by the end of it, because I think they took it off. Let's have a quick whip through this. So, a 74-year-old Indian farmer has had a 4-inch or 10 centimetre devil horn removed from the top of his skull. Shyam Lal Yadav of Rahali village in Madhya Pradesh, I think that's right, suffered a head injury in 2014, which reportedly led to the formation of a rare cutaneous horn. The benign growth, also referred to as devil's horn, sprouted from his head, and over 5 years escalated to the point where it towered above his skull.
So he had a keratosis then.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be burnt alive then, isn't he? Like, I should imagine. But
He went to the doctor because they had a picture of him in like a surgical gown.
Or they'll build a little shrine to him and venerate him as a king.
yeah,
Like they did with Donald Trump.
And that toilet. You ever seen that story?
yeah, the toilet shrines.
Yeah, I could imagine that. It's like, yeah.
They gave him.
I wasn't going to talk about stories that squeak me out because I've just had my dinner. But you talking about that bloke in India? Did you ever see that? I think he's Indian or Iranian or something. But it's a man who's convinced that washing makes you unhealthy. So ever since the age of 4, he's never washed in his life. Himself in camel dung and.
Everyone there still? Are you still there, Hobbit? You disappeared, mate.
Hello, I'm still here. Oh.
So what you're saying about camel dung? He covered himself in camel dung, did he?
They have that camel dung festival, don't they, in India?
Oh,
they sort of jump around in it and that. Yeah.
oh, Jesus Christ. So it says Mr. Yadav had been getting the growth shaven down by his barber for years, but the horn began to grow aggressively, prompting the farmer to seek medical help. Rare growths are made out of keratin found in toenails and human hair and mostly occur in older adults. An operation to remove the growth was performed at Bagyode Tirth Hospital in Sagar City. Surgeon Dr. Vishal Gabaji said around 5 years ago the patient hurt his head, after which a lump started growing. And then basically, and then he got it removed.
God.
Jesus Christ.
That's a bit of a strange reaction, isn't it? Oh, God.
Yeah, it's having a bop on the head.
Yeah, and then you have like, as you get it in cartoons, didn't you? They have that big thing.
I don't know. I think as soon as the horn started growing, I think I'd have probably got something done about it. But then again, I assume you have to pay for your own medical care out there, do you? Unless you have someone that gets on the telly, I suppose then you can get them to do it for free, can you?
Well, I've been thinking about black metal and the joys of black metal, but
remember, it would help if I didn't mute myself when I wanted to join in.
No.
I've been muting myself when I want to talk and unmuting myself when I don't.
I feel like a God.
I was going to say I do want to talk now, but I'm thinking in regards to, because you see lots of. I say you see lots of. I try not to because the place disgusts me, but it also just seems to be that mutations and consanguineous, no, not consanguineous births. That's Pakistan. These mutations and birth defects are really rife over there, and it's like, yeah, it turns out when your groundwater is contaminated with feces, you'll get lots of birth defects. Who'd have thunk it?
Well, isn't China? A lot of these weird stories occur in China as well, don't they?
The problem is not groundwater being contaminated with feces. It's being contaminated with whatever houseborn the factory runs off into the rivers, where they just have rivers and lakes bursting into flames spontaneously.
God, that's grim. That is.
Lake of fire.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, if Greta Thunberg was really serious about like pollution and stuff like that, why don't she go and do a tour of Africa, India, and China and just say, "Stop polluting world! You're polluting too much world."
Is she Chinese then, Greta?
well, I'm trying to do her accent because, as you know, she's special. So, you ruined my dreams.
It is a bit weird because she does talk like that, doesn't she? which can come off a bit Chinese sounding, can't it?
It's the sort of double whammy of English isn't her first language, and she does look a bit downy. or like she's got fetal alcohol syndrome.
Potato, in other words.
Well, yeah, yeah. I was surprised someone told me she's 16 years old. I thought she was 12.
Well, we said this in the episode, didn't we? That we thought that like it's quite deliberate that she's old enough to be able to talk to people, but looks young enough, so it looks like you're being spoken to by a child, isn't it? It's that's the look they're going for with her, aren't they?
Yeah, but
It's their
always when you've been
defence, isn't it?
always with women, it feels like you're being talked to by a child who's nagging you, and it's just
No, you get talked at. You don't get talked to, do you?
yeah, yeah, that's it. There is no dialogue in these nagging sections.
Hey, Rich D's in. We've got 6 watching now. We're doing all right.
I feel like a bloody university lecturer.
What with all these notes you got to get through?
Yeah, I've got all these notes. I've got to sort of get into the right character in a sort of, I want to say it in a joking way, but I'm sounding like
what you need to do is print off your notes like Alex Jones, and then just in case you ruffle your papers when you're trying to make a point.
You've got to shout. We've got the documents as well, quite a bit.
Got the documents.
Yeah.
I just like thinking about backwards masking and that heavy metal band Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne were taken to court because twats listened to their LPs and then killed themselves, and they were acquitted. But I'm thinking like maybe the music did make these kids kill themselves. So it's not funny, but you know,
Do you remember? Did you ever hear Dennis Leary's bit on this? He said he said the answer to this. He says it's not less messages, it's more messages. Kill yourself, kill your parents.
I mean, I could agree with that to a point, but then I'm just thinking to myself,
If they put it on
it's
Stormzy
sort of like-
Records, I'd be perfectly happy with that.
But I mean, there was, for example, there's that program 13 Reasons Why, which was aimed at young women, girls. That's what young women are called, girls.
Yes.
And then they watched it, and it's like, wow, I'm going to kill myself. And then they did, and it's like, it's almost as if impressionable women, when you show them something, go ahead and do it, even if it's not in their best interests. Maybe we should be careful what sort of media. Oh wow, I'm advocating for censorship. Yeah, that's right. Women should be taught. Women should be shown videos of crocheting, how to look after children, and how to make dinner. Imagine if that was their sort of entertainment instead of like divorcing and casual sex. What sort of world would we live in?
I used to read some of those pro-ana websites. They were like, Jesus, they were crazy. They were pro-anorexic websites where all these girls were getting on. Like, that got really strange, some of that. Like, pathological, like.
I've heard about this
Jesus.
stuff, but I've never actually looked
pro-ana.
at it. Is it really weird, is it?
I think they've all been banned now, but they're all going on about
Well, they were like pro-suicide forums telling you how to slit your wrists and stuff like that as well, aren't they?
That's what they were going on about. They had it as a sort of deity. They said, like, you must respect Anna, like the god of anorexia and that. They're really into it. It's not like an illness to them.
Do you think that might be some sort of like ritual? Do you think it's like some sort of demon shit then? Do you?
Sort of like those monks starving themselves, isn't it? Or what do they call it?
It's weird. It's weird that they're saying you must call it the god Anna. I mean, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the demon that they want that they want to sacrifice these young girls to? Or something like that?
Possibly could be something like that, because a lot of them did top themselves. So
yeah. Especially if they're doing it in the name of Anna as well. It's just kind of weird, isn't it?
Could certainly attract something that like could take the place of their imaginary Anna, like Slender Man or something. Yeah.
Well, those 2 girls that tried to kill that other girl, didn't they? In the name of Slender Man.
I mean, it's nuts, isn't it?
We're getting away from your backwards masking.
Well,
We're going to talk about backwards masking.
It's not going to work, is it? Subliminals. I mean, if someone played me a tape with something backwards, I don't think I'm that clever to sort of reverse it again.
Well, it's not your front brain that it's speaking to, though, is it? It's your inner brain, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'd work though, would it? I don't know. I know visual subliminals work, but I don't know about the audio ones, because Aleister Crowley is said to have invented backmasking, isn't he? In his Magic and Theory and Practice, he goes on about listening to records backwards and that.
I always find it interesting that people go, you know what, I'm going to reverse this now, see if there's any hidden meanings.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of this stuff going on which we never know about, but I think there's probably something to it. I mean, especially when you got people who are a bit suspect anyway, like Barman. He was doing his incantation of "Yes, we can," and when reversing it, it sounds like "Thank you, Satan."
Yeah. There's that famous inauguration speech by Barack Obama when he says, like, trust Satan, doesn't he? And yeah, that's very clear. It's very clear. That's not like it's vague at all. He says it backwards or forwards.
If I can be the capstan in the room for a second. Yeah,
go on then, you septic.
Yeah, I'll be the capstan in the room for a second. Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of, it's part of the human brain's thing to try and find patterns, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, this I can't find the link, but this is really clear, isn't it? But I don't know what.
I think I have heard that one. I know the one you're talking about.
Finding patterns is racist and problematic, and therefore it is not the mark of a good mind to do it. It is the mark of a highly educated mind to not notice patterns anywhere.
But it's like, what's the statistical probability of an intelligible phrase in any given, sort of, say, a minute of audio? What's the likelihood of it being intelligible backwards? I don't know. But I think, like, it's not really the subliminals. I think the actual discordant nature of blackmail could certainly be evil. That could, like, summon evil, mate, because that's what they want to do, isn't it? These black metal
band. Do you remember that band from, I think, late 80s, early 90s? They were called Deicide. D-I-C-I-D.
Deicide, yeah.
Deicide, yeah.
He said he was possessed, didn't he? The lead singer of that.
Glenn Summer. I remember reading an interview with him in, I think it was Kerrang or Metal Hammer or something.
Didn't they used to bless their master tapes in like an occult ceremony or something? I think it was them. Yeah,
I think they were edgy atheists, weren't they? Edgy Satanists. Sorry. I think that was a Freudian slip there, because most Satanists are just edgy atheists anyway, aren't they?
Oh, they're just like
God hating, aren't they? So they'll say, ostensibly, oh, there's no such thing as God, but if he was around, I really hate him.
Yeah.
The way life is shit and the world is shit.
I like the anti-cosmic Satanists, so they're quite interesting. Like, they reject absolutely everything. It's like beyond nihilism. Like, they reject absolutely everything, and they want to go to another dimension where there's no entropy or no sort of like telling you what to do. And now I'd like to go there, I think. I don't know.
It all sounds like
sort of laughing.
Sorry to sound like a 4B2, but it kind of sounds like you're railing against Daddy, doesn't it? You're like, I want to go somewhere and no one tells me what to do. I'm going to stay up all night and not clean my bedroom. That's what it sounds like.
I'm going to eat my pudding before dinner, and no one can stop me.
I admit it. I am that child. I want to go. I don't like this fucking world. I think it's shit.
And I'll stay up all night in this other universe. I'll stay up all night and I won't I'll wear my pajamas all day and I'll go down the shops in them.
I don't hate this world, but I hate the modern world. As Vola used to say.
Yeah. I don't think anyone within this chat will disagree with you on that one, Zero.
Yeah. No, I agree. The 21st century's cancer. There we go. I've contributed.
It's absolute shit, isn't it? Oh God.
It is poison.
I don't know how they manage it, but it actually gets worse.
It certainly is, yeah.
Well, it's why, for example, I get upset whenever I hear something that might be remotely good on the telly. Like they're remaking Dune, and it's going to be directed by the bloke who did Blade Runner 2. So on the one hand, I think, oh, good, he was good at that film. But then I'm just thinking to myself, no, I know what casting decisions are like these days. It ain't going to be good.
Yeah, because isn't some of that Witcher casting supposed to be a bit suspect?
Due to popular backlash, they've had to change a lot of it, but There's still Geralt's the one to ask about that because he's into it more than I am.
Yeah.
But it just looks like, wow, I'm really not interested in this. But they do this. I especially notice this a lot with. I mean, you can have your blonde hair and blue eyes, but I really like gingers with green eyes, and always like the depictions of that. They recast them as like bluey blacks. Like, who's the ugliest black we can find to play this redhead? I almost think like it's like a personal insult to me. It's like, hey, you remember those idols which you fancied growing up? Yeah. Well, here they are now, and if you don't like them, you're a bigot. Okay, I'm a bigot then.
They're obviously doing all this stuff to wind us up, aren't they? Because I mean, but what I say, like they're doing it to wind us up. But what's the ultimate goal?
Well, it's gonna get to the point at some point that it's wholly unprofitable. I mean, did you hear there was some more stats about they were saying the top 1% are way more richer than the middle classes. So maybe this is the point. They've just got all this money to burn. Maybe it's just a game. That's all it is.
Well, yeah, they believe they've won now, so now they're having like their victory parade and
Victory lap.
by doing that. Yeah, there's the humiliation ritual. It's just like, it's not enough that you've lost. We can use all this money that you've given us to show you how you've lost badly.
Yeah, they're just playing games. Someone said an interesting thing the other day that a certain tribe ruled us, but now they're sort of, what was it he said? Like a few years, or say a few decades ago, a certain tribe ruled the world or ruled Britain, but now they're importing a whole nother race that they want to rule.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, it's just odd, isn't it? It's like they're just playing sort of games, aren't they?
I don't.
Why aren't they satisfied with what they had? Now they're going to mess it up for themselves, I think,
Well, they're not satisfied though. That's the thing. They're not satisfied until, for them, they see there's like no quarter. It's either us or them, which is awful because I think if you ask most Europeans, we're quite reasonable people. We're willing to give quarter and mercy and see it from other people's side. But I almost feel like they're trying to push for a binary resolution here. Oh well, so be it.
Yeah,
I was watching stuff about eating rations and it was disgusting. I'm trying to do a segue into something which either you or Hemi had, which was also disgusting.
So I wouldn't want to, if I was in the army, I wouldn't want to live on those rations for too long. Like, God knows what their stomachs must be like after a month of that. Jeez.
Well, I know. I had a couple of mates that used to be in the cadets, and after a week on manoeuvres, they'd been eating the biscuit browns, which stop you up.
All right.
So basically, they'd get home and fucking bust the toilet.
Oh God.
There
must be some sort of consideration when they're issuing those rations of just like almost a case of like, well, if we constipate them, then they won't have to use the toilet, and then the logistics officer won't have to allocate toilet paper or lanterns.
Well, I suppose it's just while they're on manoeuvres, because then the latrines ain't going to get blocked, are they? I suppose.
I had a friend in the army. He told me the best way to have a shit outdoors. I could share it with you if you want.
It's one square of paper, isn't it? Is it that method?
You find a tree, you press your back, you go down on your haunches, press your back against a tree. You've already dug a hole, and then you do your business and cover it up, because then you're not going to have an accident and sort of fall in your poop, basically. Yeah. I thought
the other thing with that is you're doing a squat, which is healthy, but you're using a tree to keep you propped up as well, because there's this stuff about there's various sphincters. It's not just the one on your ring piece, and when you squat, it's all relaxed.
Can we get a bit closer to backwards masking on this subject?
I'm trying to segue back to it, but I'm finding it difficult to sort of segue from
just brute force it.
Well, I was just gonna
push through. Just push through. You squeeze it out.
As you said about backwards masking, because didn't Son of Sam claim that was there a record that set him off as well?
That was, I don't know if it's him. Wasn't one at Mark Chapman?
No, that was his was the Catcher in the Rye, wasn't it?
Oh, that's yeah. The Bringer of War. That's apparently what Mark Chapman's name means, isn't it? The Bringer of War. Yeah. I don't know if it's true or not. Yeah, I think Chapman means a bringer of something, but I don't know where the war bit comes from. I don't think Mark means war, does it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. What is a Chapman? I mean, I know what a Cooper is, but I'm going to look up the now. Now I want to know.
I think that's like a bringer of something. Sort of.
So it was Helter Skelter, wasn't it? For
Oh, that's right, Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. Is that what you were trying to think of?
The White Album, weren't it? He got messages from that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although he says he didn't, but I reckon he did.
Yeah, because I'm sure there was a song that set the Son of Sam off.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you're saying like a trigger, so you hear the song and then it activates your programming.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, I can't think of it.
A band I was really into was Boards of Canada, and quite a lot of their songs on the Giagadi album were reversed, and then people have played them where they're doubly reversed, so they sound normal. And one was called, I think it was like a dandelion catcher, where they were talking about a flower at the bottom of the sea. And it was Leslie Nielsen doing narration for some nature documentary on the Canadian telly. And it's good. But then you play it in reverse and it's just gibberish, but the music sounds better. So there you have it.
I'm still having a look at Burkett's. I'm sure there was, because I know it's definitely the song, wasn't it? The dog next door, wasn't it? But I thought there was also a song that set him off as well. No, I'll have to have a look into that, see if I can find it another time.
Do we want to go into why Lennon was killed? Because I don't think.
Well, we could. I think we're going to do an episode on the Tavistock. Is it the Tavistock Institute? Is it
Tavistock Institute? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do an episode on that, and then we'll talk about the Beatles and stuff.
Okay, I think that makes sense now. Because I was just thinking he didn't really do much to upset the status quo. I think it was more a case of just like they wanted to wrap up loose ends now that their Beatles project was over.
Yeah, it's funny how they left like the real, unless the Paul copy didn't know enough. That's why they left him alive.
Or it could just be a case that he was, going along with the system, and he's a good actor, he's a good agent. Yeah, he's not going to rock the boat.
Yeah,
champagne socialist, weren't he? Like,
do you think the frog chorus was his humiliation ritual?
Yeah, but no, I think that was actually written by the fake Paul McCartney. It was just like, I'm going to do a song now. And then the rest of the band members just like, could you not, please? It's like, that's all right. No one will be none the wiser, and no one was none the wiser.
Because it is funny how most of Wings' songs are crap, aren't they?
Wings?
All of them are, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, apparently, was it Denny? What was his name? The drummer, Denny something. Apparently,
Denny Lane.
Yeah, because apparently he was the talent in Wings, wasn't he?
Well, it certainly weren't his wife, was it, Linda McCartney?
No, that singing voice of an angel. And she...
God.
Do you remember that tape of her singing?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that's crazy.
So I think we've done an half hour of warm up. Now we're going to go into.
I was just going to mention, like, backwards masking and that. Like, you get these like haunted objects and things, and wouldn't it be great to have a group that only plays like haunted instruments? Wouldn't that be a strange LP? I don't know.
The Chili Peppers. The Chili Peppers recorded. Was it Blood Sugar Sex Magic in a haunted house? Didn't they?
Did they? Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever they recorded it was like quite a famous haunted house.
I'm getting a call.
Hi. Hello.
One moment, please.
I'm in the library. Hello, lads. Dom Jolly's back with his excellent timing.
I'll save my esoteric Hitlerism interest for next week's banter. Then next week's start of show banter, because
Yeah.
we're never going to finish if we don't get on with this. But
Go on, you crack on. I just got a.
I will. I'll just have a.
I've just got a mute for a second. Hold on, you ready yet?
I was talking last week about the British Occult Bureau, and since then, what someone's told me, like, well, how do you know that? Well, the British Occult Bureau, as in a kind of inner group of British intelligence who do magic, basically, and I've gone all quiet.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's because me and Hobbit are both muted.
Right. And someone said, well, how do you know they exist? And I answered him by saying, like, well, they must exist because the powers that be want the edge, and British intelligence is full of Freemasons, so therefore it's full of the occult. So that seems sort of logical to me. And the Germans certainly knew it existed. Because obviously, I don't want to go too much into all that, but as people probably know, that they were investigating the occult, and Himmler had amassed that massive library of witchcraft books and things.
Yeah,
and that was just discovered in the National Library of the Czech Republic, and he founded the really long name which I can't pronounce. The Reich.
Love you.
Well, I'll just give the abbreviation: the RSHA. Amt 7 Department of the Annaby, which, according to H.R. Trevor Roper's The Last Days of Hitler, they made reports on such diverse esoteric subjects as, quote, Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, the symbolism of the suppression of the harp in Ulster, and the occult significance of Gothic pinnacles and top hats at Eton, which is a bit strange, but
top hats at Eton.
Yeah, that's according to H. Trevor Roper. He wrote that famous book, The Last Days of Hitler. Yeah, they investigated the occult significance of Gothic pinnacles and top hats at Eton. So they must have known that a British Occult Bureau existed. So, and from what I've found out, like, their fears of the British Occult Bureau existing were justified because Maxwell Knight, who was like a head spy master of MI5 and who was part of the model used by Ian Fleming to become James Bond's boss M, like Maxwell Knight, who was also apparently a closet homosexual and had 3 unconsummated marriages. So make of that what you will, but he was involved with Aleister Crowley. So you got the head of...
He's what they used to call in the old days a confirmed bachelor.
Yeah, so... because all those Cambridge Five, they were all like gay, weren't they?
Oh, so... is that how they? Well, it used to be quite. That's why being gay used to be a serious thing, didn't it? Because it was highly blackmailable, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, compromise, isn't it?
Well, just have a look at Jeremy Thorpe. when he had that dog shot.
Well, I mean, I hope he wasn't a spy.
Why would you have a dog shot? Unless you're like, it needs to be put down.
Well, no, his gay lover's dog, wasn't it? Did he do it as a warning to his gay lover or something? Was that Jeremy?
Sick. Yeah. I mean, no, that's just wrong. Oh, by the way, we're going to have one extra guy in the chat. No, in the audience, I should say. Neck and Croak. He's driving back home from work now, and he's going to tune in.
All right, good on you.
Yeah.
So, if the head of MI5 is like hanging out with the notorious British magician Aleister Crowley, I mean, that raises a few suspicions, doesn't it? I mean, what's going on there?
Until you realise what intelligence agencies are and always have been. I mean, I think we alluded to this when you were talking about John Dee and Elizabeth I being the fairy queen. It's just, they
are
spooks.
Yeah, they are.
They're spooks, and then that's the thing. I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm just thinking, was Aleister Crowley's child abuse, was that a means to an end? Or was it like he started off abusing children and then he was just like, hey, I can do magic with this as well?
Or maybe he was using it for blackmail like they do today or something.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know, but
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I got a feeling that one of the reasons we don't see any change in the political realm is people, even if they got the best intentions going into it, they get blackmailed, they get ambushed, hypnotized, like you
Yeah, I
suggested,
think so, yeah.
and then they got all this blackmail saying that, well, look, we can just say that you've done it, or we can make it so that you do it, even against your will. But then I get the feeling that you got people which aren't so compromised, like Nigel Farage or Donald Trump, where they still manage to get them either through their family, or in the case of Farage, it's like, well, you almost died in that plane crash. Yeah, think about that.
Yeah. Blackmail is such a terrifyingly effective control tool, isn't it? I mean,
It's
God,
disgusting
it
because
is, isn't it?
it just, to me, it feels like you can't get any change within the system because the system's self-correcting. It's like it's not just a case of there's been a few bad apples. It's like it's all bad apples, and you put any good ones in it, and they immediately they go corrupted and rotten.
And just no real story is ever going to surface, isn't it? I mean, like say one of the royal family actually was caught abusing a child or something with photographs. I mean, that's never going to hit the front pages, is it? Because they've got it all
Oh,
sewn up,
it will
haven't
get
they?
denoticed, and then in
Yeah,
other countries where denotices aren't applicable, they'll do an equivalent sort of censorship as well. There might be a few places in Russia and China which go with the headline, but they'll be like anybody viewing Russian news websites is guilty of treason and will be executed, even though that's no longer a capital offence.
yeah. According to Joan Miller, who was like recruited by Maxwell Knight, according to her biography, One Girl's War, like Maxwell Knight's first wife Gladys died in the overseas club after some sort of occult misadventure that involved Aleister Crowley. So that's quite a revelation. I haven't looked too deep into that, but that's in a properly published book that's supposedly gone through the libel lawyers and that. So the head of MI5's first wife, Gladys, died in some sort of weird ritual involving Aleister Crowley. So,
Well,
you know.
one of David Icke's early books, he was making these accusations about Edward Heath raping and killing children and dumping them off of a yacht in international waters. And in the United Kingdom, there's very strong libel laws. So if any of that could have been true, I mean, David Icke would still be in a prison cell to this day.
Yeah, that's
However,
interesting, isn't it?
he's never gone to court for his accusations. And the most they've done is damage control, where they just say, "Oh well, everything David Icke says is a lie and it's not to be believed." And it's like, all right, yeah, but here's a lie where he's actually saying something really damaging. If someone was to say that of me and if it wasn't true, you better believe I'd be taking them to court for libel. But yeah, it never was done. And then Ted Heath died, and then the revelations came out about his association with Jimmy Savile.
Mm.
Although it was always downplayed the true extent of it. So it was just like, wow, David Icke was right yet again.
Because
Don't rename this the David Icke fan show.
because if David Icke was lying and he was taken to court, he's going to lose, isn't he? If he was lying, so
Well, yeah, because they'd
you
say,
know,
well, what evidence do you have for this?
yeah, yeah, it's
Which
very
makes me
odd.
wonder, what evidence does he have? I believe him, by the way, because not that I'm saying one thing or another about any person here. It's just seeing the way the system works and how it's all international and it's all sort of tied into one another. It's just I would be surprised if there was a politician who hadn't done something like this.
Certainly
You
the
know,
high up ones, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I suspect there's people like Jared Batten or Nigel Farage who they haven't done this sort of stuff, and then because of that, they're just sort of bullied out by the rest of them. I mean, just imagine you're bullied out by a bunch of ugly, soulless demons who kill children,
I
and
think, yeah.
they go on. Have I got news for you? And they've got their two stooges there taking the piss out of you. I used to have respect for Paul Merton, but now I'm just thinking to myself, he's just a disgusting puppet of these really unsavory characters.
I think all this sleaze has been going on since the 1930s because there was that what's his name? There was that homosexual British MP and
Jeremy
communist
Thorpe.
spy. No, what's his name? Tom Dryburgh. That's it. He was part of British intelligence, and he apparently introduced Crowley to Dennis Wheatley, who was also part of that. They were all part of that deception thing. What the double cross group within MI5 or MI6, whatever they were. And so you got like a homosexual British spy introducing Crowley to Dennis Wheatley, and then Dennis Wheatley writes these like really popular Satanist books that sort of infects people with Satanism and inspires them to get into Satanism. And what's going on?
If I didn't know any better, I'd say all of this it's the devil's world. I mean, there's even that bit in the Bible where Jesus is doing his Lent, he's doing his no nut Lent, and then the devil says, "Hey, you see all these cities, you see all of these realms, I can make you the king of any of them."
Yeah.
And the Jesus isn't like, yeah, stop telling like porkies, you can't, you're just full of shit. He's like, yeah, I know you can, but I'm not going to. That's not the point. And I always thought, well, that was it. It's like the devil's there and he's having a conversation with him. And Jesus not once is countering anything he's saying. So I'm just taking that to mean that the devil is the ruler of this world.
The Bible says that, doesn't it, in one passage, that he's the Lord of the world, yeah? Lord of this world, yeah.
So does that mean, because they say devil's the ruler of hell, does that mean this is hell?
I think it is, yeah. Or it's kind of like a testing ground, isn't it? I think God allows the devil to exist so he can tempt us and see what we're really made of, I think.
Well, I don't know about how far out you guys are going, but if you take the fact that the moon land, if you don't believe the moon landing happened, I mean, are we on a prison planet or something? Because you've got the Van Allen radiation belt all around us, haven't you?
Yeah, they haven't satisfactorily explained that, have they? How'd you get through that bloody radiation belt?
Have you ever heard of Jim Mars?
Yeah.
He said my favourite line of Jim Mars. He said NASA tell you that they can go through the Van Allen radiation belt by going really quickly. He said that's like saying you can run if you run through rain quick enough, you won't get wet.
I just think it's absolutely insane. That lunar lander. I mean, I wouldn't even want to go down to the local shops in that. But they're supposed to have gone to the moon.
That's the most. Isn't that the most expensive car ever made? Isn't it?
It's made out of tin foil, isn't it?
To be fair, though,
I'm thinking about the moon rover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The lunar rover. To be fair, though, it would not survive the rigors of an atmosphere and all that stuff. So. But I mean, all of that aside, because I don't really, other people can get into like 4-hour conversations about the ins and outs of it. The one thing which always stuck in my craw, and I do remember this, when you were going through airport security back in the day of film cameras, you could put your canisters of film in a separate thing so they wouldn't get X-rayed. Because if the low power X-rays from those machines went on your film, all of your photographs they just come out milky and you wouldn't see anything. So the high power cosmic radiation, which is like X-rays but even more penetrating. You're telling me like the photography of the moon landing survived all that? It wasn't in any lead line boxes or anything. And another thing, whilst I'm on the subject of this is probably like the most important thing that's ever been filmed in the history of man ever, allegedly. So why was it that when it was filmed, it went to the Australian radio telescopes because it was daytime, they were facing the moon at the time when it was there. And when they did it, the Australian broadcast system is incompatible with the American broadcast system. So they had an American broadcast camera in front of an Australian monitor, and that's why the film footage is so shit. Because you basically got a broadcast camera filming a television. Well, why wasn't it done on film? Why wasn't it like, what's the best like medium?
And the president spoke to him on a landline.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you got like the most well, okay, I can understand it. You got a landline going to the radio
Yeah, I know.
transmitter in
I'd
Australia,
already thought of that one when I heard the first person tell me that. But
but
it's just one that makes me laugh.
it's just to me, it's like you're telling me like, oh yeah, well, mate, because we're going to be in Australia. I mean, there's no way we're going to have like a really we can't ship any like high resolution film or tape or something to record this the most auspicious moment in human history. No, we can't do any of that. So this is the best quality footage you got. Just some really just shit grainy stuff, and then it leans credence to the fact like yeah, it was made deliberately that shit so you couldn't see all the strings when they were suspending them their spacesuits. But all of that aside, I do actually want to talk a bit more about this world being hell and the devil being the ruler of this world. So there's like a lot of like in the myths. I say in the myths, and I'm almost saying like this. I want to know what sort of mentality this is. This idea that if you fuck up and you make a mistake in your life, you've done enough to sin, and you go into hell for eternity. That's it. There's no point. There's no chance of redemption. There's nothing. Oh, okay. And then I was talking with. Now, admittedly, they're not really known for their philosophical insights, but I was in this gospel Presbyterian church, and I was talking with a black preacher afterwards, and I said to him, "So you're saying, if I accept Jesus in, I'll go to heaven? Yeah. All right. What about all those people that were before Jesus, but they were probably quite good people, like the ancient Greeks and stuff like that? No, they're in hell." And then I was like, well, for a start, that's wrong because Jesus apparently went into hell to liberate all the people that are there. But then I'm thinking to myself that no, this idea of like punishment without any redemption for eternity is stupid. I mean, what's the point in that? It's like you're a creation, you're creating the divine image, and it's just like you're going to be squandered for eternity. I mean, that means like your one life is insignificant in the face of eternity. It's just it doesn't
That's
add
where
up.
That's where Christianity falls down, doesn't it? Like what happens to the like you just said, what happens to the people who never heard of Christianity? Do they get
Well,
punished for eternity? It's
I mean, there's like that the logical argument. I've seen some people say that, well, now you've told me of Christianity, and if I don't accept it, I'm going to be condemned for hell forever. So why did you tell me about Christianity? And it's like, you know what? With that logic, I could well believe it. And I do still, even though I say I'm Catholic, I mean, I accept Jesus and I pray to him, but I have reservations about the supposed logic in this.
but
Some
Jesus. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
well, I was going to say some people say, yeah, but you see, you're not supposed to question faith, and it's a test of faith, and some of these things are ineffable, and I'm just like, so you're telling me I've been given this curious mind by my creator, and I'm not supposed to use it to, logically think through things. Well, in that case, that sounds to me like a massive fucking troll, and I don't believe God's that much of a dick.
And it's like the Bible, or if you're a Christian, you're not supposed to be interested in the paranormal, but the Bible is full of people doing paranormal things and paranormal happenings. So, are you supposed to believe in it or not? It's like
I think it's a
strange, isn't it?
warning that if you deal with like sorcery and supernatural stuff, bad stuff's going to happen. Like you become a conduit for demon possession. So I accept I accept warnings like that for what they are. But there is just certain things like okay, I'm willing to accept this world is hell, and okay, hell's not as bad as I thought it'd be. It's still pretty bad though, and it's nice that there's friends I can make along the way, and I believe there's supposed to be some sort of redemption of this, like you earn your right
I mean,
to
what is Brexit other than some sort of act of like some twisted evil creator? The fact that all these people vote for this and
It's torture.
and it's within reach and it's possible, but they just can't do it. It's kind of, it seems like what's that? What's that? Is it a Greek?
Sisyphean
Is it a Greek
task.
myth? Is it a Greek myth where the bloke has to roll the boulder up the hill and he never gets to the
Yeah,
top? He keeps
it's a
falling down.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was on holiday in France the other day and I was watching my granddad doing weeding in this massive garden. I was like, so your holiday is just you're going to spend a whole week? Oh, but it needs doing. I was like, Yeah, but you'll be gone for a month, and as soon as spring comes, it's going to be. It's like this is a Sisyphean task. This is his
Yeah,
Sisyphean
God's own
task.
just said it's Sisyphus.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's
I
literally
mean,
Brexit explained, isn't it? Like Sisyphus.
Brexit
yeah,
is torture, isn't it? It's a
Yeah,
torture
absolutely.
device, isn't it? It's
It's
oh yeah.
torture, isn't it?
it's almost like Tantalus as well, isn't it? It's like tantalising, isn't it? You know, it's there. It's within reach. It's almost within reach, but not quite, isn't it?
Oh, I never thought that tantalising comes from that.
Oh, did you not know that
Yeah.
one, Hobbit, or did you just
No,
think
no, it's always fun when you learn the origins of words.
of it?
But
It's like every Greek, all of the worst Greek myths at once, isn't it? Brexit.
Well, they all went to public school, didn't they? All these people.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're probably just using it to torture us, aren't they?
Yeah.
But about this planet, this Earth being hell. I mean, there's a theory that this is hell, and that, or rather, that hell doesn't exist under the Earth. That this dimension is hell. You know, this is the lowest vibrational dimension there is. Like, this is it, hell, and everything else is above it. Like, even the demons are in a level above us, sort of thing. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but
I just get
We're getting pretty far away from political sorcery again, aren't we?
no. I've got a way of tying this back into political sorcery.
Go on then,
I
Hobbit,
get
do
a
it.
feeling that there's certain people who are trying, they're trying to pull the stops out to make this world the worst imaginable hell possible. I mean, in places like China with the pollution in India, it is hell. And in places like ours, it's not as bad a hell, but the despair and the suffering
Well,
is
we live
pretty
in like a
bad.
bureaucratic hell, don't we? It's like,
Oh yeah, we do.
yeah,
London's hell.
maybe all the different countries are like their own version of hell. Like, I don't know if you ever read that Spawn comic written by Alan Moore, where they
Yes,
where the people die. You've read it, have you, Hobbit?
But I've got a way of tying this back into political sorcery. Do you want to do your
Go on,
spawn
then.
point bit?
Oh yeah,
All
just
right,
the
so
Spawn point.
tie-
There's all different
Yeah.
hells, and they attract different people, don't they? Maybe it's
Yeah.
like that in a country way. It's like we're in the bureaucratic hell.
So how is the south of France a hell? Oh, actually, I think I know how it is hell. Because
It's full of
it's
French
pretty much-
people.
Well, and it's full of flies, and it's got lots of insects as well, and so it's nice. But you try and sleep, and it is hell then. But tying this back into political sorcery, I get the feeling that because the politicians never want it to happen, some people say, "Oh, well, they're not allowed to because Britain's never been a sovereign state due to the fact that it's owned by the papacy." Blah blah blah, whatever. I get the feeling what they're doing now is a demoralization effort to sort of say, yeah, it's very quaint. You've got this ideas of democracy, but you're not doing what we want. So therefore, we're just going to keep dragging our heels until all the people that vote for Brexit just go, you know what? I don't fucking care anymore. They're never going to do it. Just just stop
Well,
it.
you speak about energy a lot, Zero. I mean, do you think there's an energy they're actually feeding off, like the despair of the Brexit voters or something like that?
I think something like that could quite possibly going on, or they're creating it to feed the demons they worship. You know, the demons that they make pacts with, they demand power or blood or energy, and so yeah, they're generating like horrible sort of feelings because that's what the demons like. Isn't
It's
it?
despair, frustration. I mean,
Yeah.
how many negative emotions can you think surround Brexit?
Yeah.
I mean, cancer was one thing that causes despair, but then you get a letter through from the government saying, "Oh, here's 3 points on your license, and by the way, you owe us £100." Oh, that's a sort of I can tell there'll be demons feasting on anybody who gets a letter.
Well, not only that, then you go to renew your insurance the following year, don't you? And you have to pay all that extra dough because you got caught, and then it's just like a despair
You're
cycle,
naughty.
isn't it?
You're naughty. Therefore you are a higher insurance category. Nah.
Yeah, even though you've never had an accident.
Yeah, it's enough to make one. And the problem is you can't, game overing yourself. It does not make the game over. You just respawn, you come back, but it's even shittier. I mean, can you imagine being born in 2019 as opposed to born whatever year you were?
Ugh.
And having to go through all this shit again, but now it's worse.
Yeah, but now it's impossible, even though you know all the cheat codes.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, you get respawned now, but no, there's like a good chance you'll be forced to eat maggots at school,
Oh, God.
and or because being vegan isn't virtuous enough, and it's not about virtue or sustainability. It's a pure humiliation ritual. It takes food to raise up insects, the same sort of food you could use to feed chickens.
Well, animals eat insects and that, don't we? And there's a certain tribe who considers us to be animals. So I think we can see where all this bug eating comes from.
It's just more humiliation rituals. It's more stuff to dehumanize us, and you are what you eat.
I
So
mean,
you
I mean
just
that
become.
must be good food for the demons. You think like humiliating 17.4 million people. I mean, they must get some good boy points from their demon masters, mustn't they?
They've probably got indigestion, haven't they? All these
Yeah.
demons. It's got
Yeah.
so much fucking stuff.
It's
All
like,
like
oh God, don't do it again. I
obese
can't eat
and
no more.
The demons will have some sort of psychic version of gout because they've had all this rich despair. So just, it's like, oh, I can't eat anymore. I'm stuffed.
They'll be like
Let's do
Mr.
it.
They'll be like Mr. Creosote, won't they? Fuck off, I'm full.
And you got a waiter there. It's like, but look, 5-year-old child is prepared specially by the chef. He's had leukemia. He's going to die soon. It's made specially for you. Oh, go on, you've twisted my arm into it. Oh, fucking feed me now.
Oh dear,
Oh.
this is probably the most entertaining way I've ever looked at Brexit. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad I'm able to laugh for all this shit because
Yeah.
otherwise I don't know what I'd do.
I just binge watch the Sweeney. I do when I get like really bad. That sorts me out. Lovely, a bit of binge watching the Sweeney. Yeah.
Gonna come and spin your drum.
Shut it, you slag.
Oh, the first ringtone I ever put on the phone was the Sweeney theme tune. I've never watched a full episode of it. I just like the theme tune.
Oh dear. So
Well, back to political sorcery. I just want to get this in. According to Anthony
Are you
Masters,
saying we weren't talking about
Well,
this? Sarah? Have you-
we
think
need
we
to
are,
we need to
genuinely.
get this episode done. We're on part 3. We could have done it in one.
No, there'll be 666 parts of Political Sorcery.
1,488.
109 parts.
1,350 parts.
I don't even understand half of these memes.
I don't know what. I'm just saying random numbers. There's no link.
Oh, yeah.
There's no link or meaning to any of it.
No, same here. They're just funny numbers I heard somewhere.
Yeah.
No intent behind them.
I don't think the British Occult Bureau are into all this like craziness that's going on. So I hope they're trying to sort of kill the demons or something. Because fuck me, this can't go on much longer, can it? I mean, Jesus.
No, it doesn't feel sustainable. I just feel ever since they opened up the Large Hadron Collider that the world's been going to shit. I'm pretty
think
sure.
possibly.
Oh, it's been happening before that. I mean, the amount of like child killings and rapes and all this kind of stuff. It's just like like you say, it's not sustainable for much longer. It's felt to me like a long time for like the end times, doesn't it? It's like it's on the way, isn't it?
Well, you mentioned that, and I sort of think to myself, what is it that kicked this all into high gear? And there's not one thing, but I just think to myself, people don't really talk much about the LHC because it sort of opened up with a bit of fanfare, and then it's just like, oh, it wasn't big enough to do this, fool's errands, which we said it was going to do, so we need more money for an even bigger one. But you mentioned a point there. Can I make it tie into it? Oh yeah, that's it. Child killings. You remember in Belgium in the 1990s, there was a string of fairly prolific child abuse. There was like child kidnapping and stuff.
Mark Dutroux, yeah.
Well, it turns out because like the police and no, it wasn't the police. Was it the judges or the judge that was presiding over the case was like, "Hey, police, you didn't really investigate this. You just went there and said, no, nothing here. You got any evidence?" Ah, no, we just took their word for it. And then the judge told them to go back again. And when they did, it's like, oh, look, there's a cellar and there's two live girls, both prepubescent, who looks as if they've been going to be shipped off. And there's a name J. Epstein on it. Oh, okay. So why didn't you investigate that? We had our reasons. What are those reasons? Yeah, we're not going to say.
A big
Yeah, it
pile
turns
of them
out-
all with the Queen's head on the back.
Well, I don't know what Belgian currency looked back then. I think they
Yeah.
still had the franc.
I did that.
But they came out recently. Some of the magistrates have been questioned about this, and they've sort of broken down in tears and just said, "Look, we have murder contracts on the heads. We had to, dismiss the charges."
Oh, but
even
they're
though
all right
the
to say
evidence-
it's all right to say they had murder contracts now.
I don't know. Maybe the statute of limitations has gone. Maybe with Jeffrey Epstein supposedly
Yeah.
dying, then it's just some of this stuff can be brought up. I think it's like when Jimmy Savile died. There's a lot of this stuff. It's like, well, we can bring this stuff out in the open before we bury it.
That's what
once
they
and
do.
for
That's
all.
what they do, don't they? They bring it all out in the open, pin it on the dead person, and then go back to business as normal, don't they? That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's when Jimmy Savile died and all those allegations that David Dyke made about Edward Heath came to light. It was just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's not going to go any further. Moving on. What's on the telly?
Janner as well. Was it Lord Janner? They just ran out the clock until he died, didn't they?
Well, there's supposed to be this massive investigation about all this sort of like British establishment pedo stuff. That seems to have fizzled out, doesn't it?
Well, they bought plenty of time. They just had 3 or 4, heads resign, didn't they?
I mean,
and then that was that.
It's like Brexit. It's like the Brexit syndrome, isn't it? They're doing the whole Brexit thing with that. Yeah,
They do the first bit very very publicly with a big fanfare, and then just kind of not so much the rest of it, don't they?
God's Own in the chat says, "Could I post some links to this stuff?" And in Telegram, and I just got to say, I think I'm either on Pol News or one of the other chats, and that's where they were talking about this stuff. But the 4chan Pol News on Telegram chats, you get lots of salient information there, and that's why I read about it. Because it doesn't seem that anywhere else is talking about the Belgian paedophile stuff, because it's like what happened in the 1990s. That's ancient history. Who cares? Like Ben Shapiro is saying, "Oh, the USS Liberty, that happened almost 50 years ago. That's ancient history. No one cares."
I'm with Ben Shapiro. I think any event over 50 years ago should be forgotten, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's ancient history. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Anything that happened more than 50 years ago doesn't matter, and certainly don't want to be basing your current decisions on it.
No, not at all.
No.
This stuff's been going on for ages in this country. I mean, according to Anthony Masters' biography of this Maxwell Knight guy I mentioned, this MI5 guy, apparently Maxwell Knight told his nephew Harry Smith that he and Dennis Wheatley were actually members of Crowley's occult group, that they actually were like signed up members to it. So, it's all linked, isn't it? They all link these.
You get a membership
these people.
card and everything, do you?
You get a membership certificate. Yeah, that's how it works, isn't it?
Do you get discount anywhere?
I don't know. I suppose you get robes discounted. I don't know. Because they have watchers, don't they? That's the way I see it. Like spy organisations have watchers in the universities and schools, and I think these black magic cults have watchers. They're looking out for the psychos.
What do you actually think our secret services are for? Because they don't actually do much like protecting the country or spying on people, do they?
Nah.
Just seems to be all witchcraft, drug smuggling, and just covering up for like ne'er-do-wells. That just seems to be the main part of their job, doesn't it?
Considering their budget has almost tripled since like all this terrorism stuff, they don't seem to be spending it very wisely, do they? I don't know. I mean, it would help if we didn't import like ISIS terrorists back into the country. I mean, you think that'd be a sort of high up on the list.
You would have thought some committee somewhere would have figured that one out.
Yeah, you'd think we should that should be like top of the list, really, shouldn't it? But nah, it's kind of like.
That's like the bureaucratic. I mean, you get like people like Lauren Southern turned away at the border, yet Shamima Begum will be living back in the country before too long, won't she?
And we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what taxes are for, so we can pay for new English people who are just as English as you or I.
More English.
Oh, yeah, definitely
More English
more
because you're a
English.
racist.
Yeah, that's true. And we know these people can't be racist because they're black in it.
So
Can I slag?
Oh,
Can I slag off Tony Blair?
oh yeah, let's.
All right. There was that story, wasn't there, that Tony Blair used to like roll about on the floor as he communicated with the light, as they said, or Lucifer, I should imagine. But this
I should imagine it was a light. It was probably the star of the morning, perhaps.
He had that guru, didn't he? Like Carol Kaplan.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. A correction. Anthony Charles Linton Blair.
Oh, is that his real name?
That's his full name, Anthony Charles Linton Blair.
Because Blair is an anagram of Beliar, isn't it?
Yeah.
As in, like Tony Blair, i.e., Tony Blair be a liar, which is also the name of Beliar, which is like a demon, isn't it?
The bloody liar.
I know there's Belial. I didn't know there was a Beliar as well.
I think Belial's a version of Beliar, which is like
he's a bloody liar. So it's a fitting surname.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Beliar is, or Belial is the chief of devils, the prince of deceit, like the master of hypocrites. So what an interesting what interesting surname he has. Because he had that guru Carol Kaplan, who he used to ring up and apparently she was even she had so much control over him, she even picked his underpants. According to her, I'll put the link in the chat. I don't know if it's still up. I got this quite a while ago, but
so he was the second son of Leo and Hazel Blair. Hazel Corskadden was the daughter of George Corskadden, a butcher and orangeman who moved to Glasgow in 1916.
In a book, what's this? Some guy called Foster wrote this book, A Question of Deceit, where he talked about how this Carol Kaplan weirdo guru, New Age guru, and Tony Blair went for long walks in the woods around Chequers and phoned each other every night. And she chose his underpants and stuff.
It's not the same woods where Robin Cook died, was it?
Oh,
Robin Cook, who absolutely died whilst jogging.
Yes, and it was definitely the way they said it was. Was it Robin Cook or was it?
You're thinking of Dr. David Kelly.
Dr. David Kelly,
who slit his wrists after hanging himself because he just wanted to be sure, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, he slit his wrist with a blunt knife before after hanging himself, didn't he?
He slit it laterally. He didn't slit it the right way, and also the coroner said, yeah, there wasn't really much blood loss there. It looks like this is what would happen to someone who was already dead, and then you slit because
I thought there was
the
also
heart wasn't beating.
I thought there was also a lack of blood found at the scene, wasn't there, with David Kelly?
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
As if he'd been dragged there. And
my favourite David Kelly quote was something I heard on the news. This newsreader said that he definitely killed himself because David Kelly was reported saying, if all this goes wrong, I'm going to be found dead in the woods. And the journalist said, see, there you go, that was a definite suicide threat.
That's what Princess Diana said, wasn't it? She said, if anything happens to me, they're going to kill me in a car crash, isn't it?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. But apparently Tony Blair would ring up this New Age guru Carol Kaplan and she'd channel the light. He'd ask her questions and she'd channel the light, and then she'd ring him back. I mean, channeling the light.
Does that tie in with Paul Sinclair and Truth Proof? Because he got told by that alien that he was, or whatever this bloke was, that he was bringing. Oh,
that's right.
Didn't he? Bringing down the light was the phrase, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that guy on the push bike. Yeah. But the light, I mean, that could be interpreted as, I see it as Lucifer. Lucifer's the light bringer, isn't he?
Yeah. No, I find it interesting that there's a number of these politicians, and I'm thinking also the one who The one who was before Jacques Chirac, I can't remember who he was. He was the one that had the pyramid in the Louvre constructed, the one that has 666 panes of glass. And he'd go to this uh, cave up in the mountains, which has a chapel built on it. But the chapel is utterly demonic. It is not a Catholic edifice in any way, shape, or form. And he'd say he'd communicate with spirits there, which was, I think, a euphemism for demons. But also the current, well, we pretend he's a pope, but Jesuits can't be popes, and as he's proving, no, they really can't. But he was saying, oh yeah, he used to have, or he still does have a Jewish psychoanalyst who helps him with stuff. I'm like, seriously, you're the head of, you're the pontate, you're the Pontius Pilate. Anyway, the Pope, and he's consorting with people who killed Jesus Christ, who ostensibly he's supposed to, care about what being the head of the Catholic Church. And he's like, yeah, I just ask him to set things straight and help me out and stuff. This Christ killer psychoanalyzed me.
Yeah, well,
But you know what? That doesn't even bother
faith
me as
healers
much
used
as
to be
some of
a
the other
big
stuff.
faith healers used to be a big thing. Do you remember Glenn Hoddle and Eileen Drury?
No.
yeah, that didn't end well, did it? Look,
No. My favourite Eileen Drury story was she went up to Gaza and put her hands on his shoulders, and he said, "Yeah, just a bit off the top, please."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love Gaza, miss Gaza.
well, talking about channeling, there's an even stranger one. Have you heard of the Nine? When all those elite people in America in the 50s were channeling, they had this Indian bloke called Dr. Vinod, and they'd all get together in this plush farmhouse
Is
in
that
Maine.
the Council of Nine? Is it or something?
Yeah,
else?
the Council of Nine. Yeah,
Is it Tom and the Council of Nine? Isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, it was that Andrea Puharich, wasn't it? And that
I
was
don't think you said Boomer Rich.
Andrea Puharich. Sort of,
I think.
well, that's his name.
I think you might be
Boomer
accent.
Rich.
I think you might be emphasising the poo a bit too much in that name.
But it's crazy. Like they were all kind of channeling the Nine, but these were like the high elite, and apparently that Gene Roddenberry was involved, and that's where Deep Space Nine comes from. And
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to mention that if you
Yeah.
hadn't. Yeah, Deep Space Nine is apparently like the first thing which Gene Roddenberry wanted to do, but there was like, no, we can't sell that. So he had to wait until he was almost dead before he could do it. The funny thing about Deep Space Nine is I don't think it would have taken the format of what it was on the space station. I think it would have been another, like spaceship going different place every time. But what's his name?
So what was the hard sell then, like the Space Israel stuff?
Oh, well, no, I was going to say that the space station, the way it worked, it would probably just been like, a Federation fleet around the Cardassian board, making sure they behave themselves. But it's set on a space station because Babylon 5, the guy whose name I can't remember, Neck and Croak, if he's in the chat, he'll tell me who it is. He approached Paramount saying, hey, I think we could do this. And they're like, sorry, no, we've already got Star Trek. We don't need another sci-fi RP. So sci-fi intellectual property. So then Gene Roddenberry, of course, got hold of the script, or Brandon Braga, Rick Bergman, and it was like, hey, this could be really cool if we Star Trekified this. And then Gene Roddenberry's like, yeah, I'm going to put religion in this too. What? Yeah, I'm going to put religion in this. But I thought
and Space Israel.
Yeah.
The is it the Cardassian
The
Bajoran conflict is like absolutely like space Palestine, isn't it?
Well, I was going to say the Bajorans are depicted more as Palestinians in the show, but they totally are space Israel.
Yeah.
Well, nine's the number of Satan, isn't it? It's the satanic number because it's individual, isn't it? When you multiply, that always returns to itself. So it's like a prideful Luciferian satanic number, yeah. According to Anton LaVey.
Yeah, because apparently any number where the digits add up to 3, you can divide by 3, can't you?
With
It's like
yeah,
It,
and
so
also with
not add up to 3, but add up to a multiple of 3. If the digits
multiples
add
of
up to a multiple
9.
of 3, that you can delete.
If you add the two numbers and on the numbers of 9, so you got like 9 times 9 is 81, 8 plus 1 is 9. You've got like 45, which is what, 5 lots of 9, and that's
Yeah.
4 and 5 together. That's 9. So what if you did it with the 3 digits? So you've got like 90. Well, that's 9. You've got 99. 9 plus 9 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. So let's do the next one after that. It's 107. No, 108. Yeah, 1 plus 8, that's 9. So even with the 3-digit numbers, it still comes back to 9. There you go. Spooky.
Thank you, Carol Vorderman.
You're welcome. The other one that was on Countdown.
The other one that was in counter, Jeff
I
Stelling.
can't.
Richard Whiteley.
Richard Whiteley, that's the one.
Do you reckon he was murdered? Do you think he died in mysterious circumstances, or do you think?
Why? Did he do anything? Did he say, I've got information that lead to Hillary Clinton's arrest?
No, but Mark Spate did, didn't he?
Did he?
No, well,
Who's
that's Mark Spate. He used to present. I can't.
Oh, it's tragic, isn't it? Tragic end, yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Peter. What was he? Blue Peter?
No, it was some art. It was some art program. I thought I spoke to you about it before, Hobbit.
You probably have, but the name doesn't register because I'm dumb. Or more a case of just
Smart.
like
He used to do Smart. S-Mart.
no, I don't remember that show. That's probably why then.
Look at it. This fella. In the messages down the side, I just put his wiki up there. Because there was that real big spate of like BBC presenters dying mysteriously, wasn't there?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what sort of like, because they must like chatter, mustn't they, amongst themselves?
Wait, he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who Mark Spate is now. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's dead.
His girlfriend died in the bath, and then he apparently killed himself, didn't he?
Death and inquest.
In a very strange place, didn't he? Hanged
where-
himself, and
Where did he?
you know,
Macmillan
he
House.
hanged himself in an obscure part of a London train station, which is a rather strange place to kill yourself, I'd have thought.
So the British Transport Police confirmed the body was Spates on 14th April 2008.
Why on earth would you hang yourself in a sort of train station? You know.
Well, what's Macmillan House?
Was he sending some sort of message? Maybe, you know, sort of.
The message that he had information that would lead to Hillary Clinton's arrest?
Something to do with the train. Maybe she's got shares in the train company or something.
Wait, it seems like they're sending a message, not him.
I'm looking at what Macmillan House is and its significance, and one of the links I've got here on DuckDuckGo is Macmillan House on Sex Eyes, sexeyes.somerset.sch.uk.
What's Sex Eyes?
Sex Eyes is a. I'm going to click on the link now.
Oh, actually, what number's sex? That's 6, isn't it? Or 7?
Yeah.
That's Jewish Kabbalah, isn't it? 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Hebrew letter for 6 is a nail. It looks like a nail. Yeah. So every time you see 6, that's like the nails that defeated Jesus, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm on the website now. Macmillan House is Sexey's boarding school. Sexey's is spelled SEXEY''S, and it's state boarding, sixth form boarding. It's a boarding school.
Sexy boarding school.
Considering state,
that's suspicious, isn't it?
Is that like some sort of signal?
I think Jimmy Savile must have opened it or something.
Yeah.
State. I mean, I'm looking at the information here. It says about what is state boarding. State boarding schools provide high quality boarding at the lowest possible cost. Sexey's is one of the best value for money boarding schools in the country, having fees below most of. Oh, can we get sponsored by Sexey's?
That's a mental name, isn't it? God.
Yeah. That's some real Epstein hours, that, isn't it?
The sexy school,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to look up what Macmillan House is and like why it's called Macmillan House, and it's just like, here we go, state boarding school, sexies. So there you have it. Sexiest boarding school.
So are we doing with your notes then? We got much left.
I think we've come to a good end, because if we do another one, we can get to the magical war against Margaret Thatcher. But we've got to this ratio where the longer the stream goes, the more pissed I get, and the more or to American listeners, that pissed means drunk. I don't know if you know that one.
Pissed is also synonymous with sloshed, rat-assed, bladdered, and you've had a tankard. Oh, you've had a skinful.
Well, okay, but what can you do? What can you do in 10 minutes then, Zero?
Well, I could actually say what's really going on behind all this stuff. I've said it before a bit on Brutus's show, but one of my friends once told me a strange story where he met someone to do with his work or something, and as you do, he shook his hand. He said he shook his hand, but the bloke's hand was really fragile, like a bird's wing. And he started to think, like, as he sort of like worked with him, he started to think, well, this guy is like not human, basically. And that got me thinking about alien human hybrids and that. And is it possible that with all this like perversion that's going on, could like the plan be that they start you off, like once you get rich and that, they start you off with prostitutes and you exhaust all the possibilities paying for sex with prostitutes, and then you move on to paedophilia, and once they know you're into that, maybe that's when they hit you with the real thing. Like the real thing is having sex with non-human entities to breed alien human hybrids. I know it sounds crazy, but they are crazy. And there's a lot of stuff in the past with like sex between humans and fairies, and abductees being impregnated and having phantom pregnancies and that disappear after 3 months. So I'm not so sure whether that is, because like all this mass immigration, could it actually be to sort of get us acclimatized to accept foreign races? So if we're so acclimatized to accept Muslims and that, it's not too far away from accepting alien human hybrids.
Well, it wasn't that supposed to be the idea behind E.T. and films like that, wasn't it? To get us used to thinking about the friendly alien.
Yeah, well, I think maybe they're taken over, because but then again,
the old wet fish handshake always makes you a bit suspicious, doesn't it?
That's just my mate, when he said, like, he shook his hand and it was really fragile, like a bird's wing. And he said his eyes were really strange as well. Like, like the whites of the eyes. He said, like, there was too much white in his eyes. Like, he's just thinking, like, because the more he worked with him, the more he realized that this guy ain't fucking human. There's something fucking odd about him, I don't know. Because I met someone. Oh, it just sounds crazy if I talk about it, but I was walking home once, and I walked past the train station, funnily enough, and like someone sort of said out of the sort of darkness, said like, "Do you know where so and so road is?" And I sort of looked, and sometimes you get that instant sort of realization, and I sort of instantly realized that this woman doesn't want to know where this road is. She's just saying that to get my attention, kind of thing. And the more I looked at her, I thought, like, bloody hell, she's got a beard. She had this long beard. You imagine like a sort of slightly overweight, middle-aged woman standing in the shadows at the entrance of this train station, and she's got this fucking long beard. And she's saying, like, do you know where so-and-so street is? And I sort of said no, and I sort of walked home, sort of tripped out, kind of thing. I was sort of tripped out for the rest of the evening. So I don't know. Maybe that was a hybrid. I don't know, or something strange. But that would explain like this illogical mass immigration that's going on, wouldn't it? They're acclimatizing us to accept actual human aliens or whatever. I don't know.
Well, do you think that's part of like the pushing like all kinds of sex and
Yeah,
hedonism
it's
and
like
stuff like that as well. To like promote sex with aliens or something like that.
it's getting us to accept almost anything, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
sex with like men, sex with half men, half women. They want to have sex with aliens. You know, I don't know, because that is part of. I think that is part of the higher levels of Freemasonry. It's certainly part of the higher degrees of the Ordo Templi Orientis. I mean, that's what they're taught. You know.
Well, that's Scientology as well, isn't it? When you get into the high levels of that, and
Yeah,
and
that's all about aliens.
Elron was certainly into the. I don't know how far he was into the Crowley stuff, but he did rituals with
Yeah.
Jack Parsons, didn't he?
Jack Parsons, yeah. Well, that was the whole part of that. That ritual was to have sex with an alien or to create an alien human child. So
Is that the one? Is it? Are they saying that's the one that created Barbara Bush, or is that the one that created Hillary Clinton? Because some people say that Hillary Clinton is the result of a
no, they say that was
ritual,
like
don't they?
Bush having sex with Aleister Crowley. That was, weren't it?
Yeah.
That done that, yeah.
Barbara Bush is a butt baby.
Won't put it past them. But no, I think you've got a point on about there. It's not just the mass migration, but also this stuff with these freaks that are running rampant. I mean, someone was talking the other day about this story of a woman who had her eyeballs tattooed and she went blind. And she was saying that, oh no, I remember, I was listening to it on the Hate Bus. That's what it was. They were talking about there. I really recommend that podcast, by the way. I do like it. But they're talking about this woman getting and it's just she's a tattooed freak. And these days, with people when they got like the whites of their eyes tattooed black or blue or whatever,
Purple,
it
they have all
does look
kinds of colours.
alien.
I saw one where a girl had that done, and she literally all she does now is weep purple.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, there's a definite plan, isn't there, to make everything as freaky as possible. And obviously, if everyone's all freaky friendly, they're going to accept these aliens, because they're not going to come out and say like we're half alien, half humans. They're just going to gradually like get into positions of power and just be like just another weirdo, aren't they? And they're not going to come out and say that we're like alien hybrids.
It'll be like V, won't it? Do you remember V?
Yeah.
And of course, anybody that says no, I don't want to have sex with these weird freaks, they'll be like, oh, well, you're a bigot then, and probably Nazi, and you should be like forcibly medicated against your will.
Because I mean, it's not like crazy conspiracy stuff. That really is part of the teaching of the higher levels of the OTO, and the OTO are Freemasonry basically now. They've infiltrated Freemasonry, so maybe that's what's going on. But because I suppose if you were an alien race, you wouldn't just like, if they are here, which I think they are, they're all flying about, aren't they, in their spaceships? I mean, they don't seem to want to take over by force. They seem to want to do it by stealth, don't they? If that is what they're doing. So, I mean, maybe some of them are already in power. You know, like Tony Blair, I would say, is a candidate for some sort of hybrid freak.
Well, he don't look right, does he?
He's part of the Fabian organization. I mean, they're one of those secret societies.
Yeah, Jason Horsley's done a lot of good stuff on the Fabians. Yeah, sheep in wolf's clothing, isn't it? That's their symbol, isn't it? Their logo. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
There you have it.
Yeah, the sheep in wolf's clothing. Yeah.
There
Jesus,
you have it.
That's weird.
You should check out Jason Horsley's stuff on it. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Yeah. That goes into Tavistock Institute, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to. I think we need to do a Tavistock. I think we need. I think we done 3 weeks on political science. I think we need to work. We need to find a change of subject a bit, don't we? I was thinking. Were you thinking of doing these disappearances next?
That sort of intrigues me. Yeah, I don't know if we can get a whole show out of it, but yeah, people are disappearing apparently.
Well, we could do disappearing and a bit of internal human combustion. You don't really hear that. People don't talk about that anymore, do they? Internal human combustion.
Yeah. Oh, that freaks the hell out of me. That doesn't it?
When they just find a leg.
Yeah, there's legs in the fireplace. Yeah.
Yeah.
The weird thing with that though is these people combust, and yet the flammable seat or bed they're in doesn't burn.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
uncharred, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, to me, that sounds almost like microwaves or something. But then, even if it was, and you've got something that's on fire, how does that not burn things that are around it?
That sort of stuff, I've heard stuff like that connected with people who get into demonology and that, and things like their dogs explode and things like that. And there's been cases of that. Yeah, that's crazy stuff. Yeah.
So I think should we do that next week then?
You might as well. Yeah, that'd be good.
Spontaneous
Yeah.
human combustion and the disappearances, because we've got a really good story about the disappearances on the M6, haven't we?
Because those, what's that? That ship, that Philadelphia experiment. Some of the survivors of that were supposed to like fade in and out of reality, weren't they? In pubs and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some
That's
of them,
not bad.
like, were
Didn't
buried
some of them catch fire as well, didn't they?
Well,
They caught fire.
Yeah.
They were rephased. Like, some of them were like half in the hull and like screaming
Yeah.
agonies. It's like,
Yeah.
oh look, I have this hull plating through where my body should be.
Yeah.
That's really painful.
Whoops. Whoops.
Oopsie.
But the ones who actually survived that experiment, apparently they'd be having a drink in a bar and they'd like fade in and out. You know, they'd disappear and then come back again. Yeah.
I don't want to take the piss out of it, but I'm just thinking of Ghostbusters with Slimer's trying to drink something and it just goes straight through him.
Right, so are we done now then, lads?
Yeah, I'm a
We've
bit
done
pissed.
Hour and a half's about right for us. Right, so that's us all done. We're now up on BitChute. So if you look for Hemming for Grey on BitChute, you should be able to find the channel. There's all the usual stuff there: Grub and Soil, Fortean words, and some of Hemmy's big tunes as well. If you want to listen to that.
I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel.
Oh, you put some up now, have you? I shall have
Yeah.
a look at your channel.
Couple of fan tapes. Yeah.
Okie doke. Night all.
Yeah. See ya.